of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And again, roll call, please.
President Colnico.
Present.
Richard Filipiali. Present. Jacqueline Napolitano Fermo.
Present.
Lee Kennedy.
Present.
Dr. Adams.
Present.
Mylene Harless.
Present.
Mark Warshaw.
Present.
Christina Coffey.
Present.
Monica Nancy.
Present.
And Ms. Canico's not available tonight. And myself, Mayor Jean.
Okay, are there any changes to the meeting? Okay, moving on to minutes of the February 11th, 2020 Board of Education meeting. I need a motion and a second. I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Mrs. Adam, you're here tonight. You're okay. Yeah, I'm not fooling around tonight. I don't feel good.
So the week before February break, we did.
Can we get him the microphone so we can hear him a little better?
Anyway, what about the well, you just, yeah, no, that's not
So the week before February break, the high school participated in Yes I Love You Week, which is a nationwide celebration in which each day different clubs around the high school pick different days and decorate the high school, hand out little gifts to make sure everyone knows that somebody loves them. They made announcements throughout the day. The high school is decorated with purple and white, which are the colors for PS I Love You Week. And the majority of the clubs at the high school participated. Overall, it was a great success. Along with that, we did our annual Valentine's Day sale, and we partnered with the Anti-Bullying Club to sell teddy bears for them this year. Coming up, we have the Spring Egg Hunt. We're still deciding between 2 days, but that should be sometime mid-April. Other than that, that's about it for right now.
I actually want to compliment your school. My father-in-law is a veteran, and I was given a card, well, Emily was given a card to give to her grandpa, and the student sketched it by hand. I should have.
I was the same thing for my
I
dad.
should have brought it tonight.
My dad does that too, very.
Oh my God, I was blown away. This kid was amazing. I did see that your school collected quite a few cards for the veterans.
Yeah, so that's another thing we did. The weeks leading up to the break, a few clubs got together and they made cards for our veterans to thank them for their service.
I love that. That was wonderful. Yeah, I think they went, my father-in-law goes to daycare, Veterans Daycare, and they delivered it on February 14th, and it was like boxes of cards for the veterans.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, my father-in-law, very sensitive man, and he got choked up, so it was great to please tell, your students that it really made an impact on those,
Of course, thank you.
So thank you, appreciate that. Anything else? Well, we have a big year for you, right? You're a senior, you're in your colleges, you got prom, you just finished your trip, so any ideas for where you're going?
So I'm planning on staying home, going to Suffolk to study fire science. Along with that, there's an opening at the rescue for a firefighter position. So I'm also applying there.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations, that's very cool.
Thank you.
I like this one. Listen, I'm coming to my daughter to stay with me too. Thank you, Adam. Okay, we're moving on. Moving on to policy. We're actually going to table policy because our policy committee members are here tonight. We have new business, and that would be Bridget.
We just need a motion.
Oh, sorry, I need a
Motion
motion.
is second to table.
A motion is second to table.
Motion.
Mark, second that, all in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. We've not, oh. Mr. Ransom. Oh, yes, like, thank you. Can't see from here. Turn it on. There we go. I'll just do that. I'm gonna have to watch it now. So I can see it. Someday I'll get the pleasure of work. Thank you everyone for being here. So since the last budget presentation, information has come in from many different entities, the State Education Department, and as well as Eastern Suffolk BOCES. Eastern Suffolk BOCES, we were waiting on a number that impacted the capital levy share part of the tax cap, the tax levy limit calculation. That number was provided as of last week, so it seems that every single week something else changes and something else gives. So the number provided from BOCES was $215,000. That's reflected up on the screen for the local capital levy share. Other information that changed in building aid was the Chapter 97 projects. Those have come through. Again, the building aid number of $7 million is straight from the governor himself off of the January 21st executive budget proposal. Then the transportation aid, we've been doing a lot of work as a business office, including with assistance from school aid specialists, to make sure that all of our bus purchases are included in Form FT on the SED website. From there, that number has increased to 101,174. It was at about 62,000 at my last presentation, so things are moving onward and upward. The change from the February 11th presentation to now is that with all this information set from all the other different entities, the number has shifted from 2.8 as a capital levy to 1.7. So as we go on to the next slide, this is the tax levy limit calculation. So that number, the second from the bottom of 1.7, that's the capital levy share. So from the top, the prior year tax levy is where you start from with 125 million. You add in your prior year pilots of 3.1. You subtract your prior year exemptions, your capital levy, and this number has changed from 1.5 to 1.3, and that's again because of the BOCES capital and rent number provided by BOCES last week. It shifted that number and it shifted for 2021. It doesn't impact anything other than just updating OSC to say this is that number out of that share, and when we go forward to implementing it and putting it into OSC to update that as well. After that, multiplying it by the allowable levy growth factor, which is set by the Office of Real Property Services, plus the, backing out projected pilots for the coming year, adding in the allowable carryover, which brings you to your tax levy limit before the exclusions, and then adding in your 1.7 or the capital levy share, which brings our tax levy limit calculation to 129,665,481, which is 3.1%. That would be the absolute cap to the tax levy. This slide is historical tax information from the 2015-16 school year. As you can see, as you come to years after 2017-18, we
stop levying to the limit and what the limit could have been versus what the levy became. There is a lot left on the table, so it's critical at this point in time to levy to the limit, because when you go not to the limit, you leave funds on the table that you cannot get back because subsequent years are compounded. That's the historical tax.
So what you're saying by going to zero last year sort of has not such a positive impact for this year?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
So this is the first look for 2021 revenue draft. As you know, and I will continue to say, the revenue side of the budget must match the expenditure side of the budget. So in order to maintain programs, contingencies, and new initiatives, it's critical that the tax levy limit of 3.1% on the revenue side of the budget be set into fruition to help the expenditure side of the budget and to allow administration to work together to develop the expenditure side, to look at staffing, to really, from our January 10th Board of Education meeting, where we went through the budget guidelines and adopted those budget guidelines, to now go back through as a team to make sure we are abiding by those guidelines that we adopted on the January 10th meeting. We're just going to say, I'm sorry.
That's all right. When you
So the two biggest sources of revenues for school districts are the tax levy and state aid. The tax levy is roughly 65% of revenues and state aid is 27%. The additional 8% comes from reserves, including the debt service fund, which is a transfer for debt payments, excuse me. The draft column for reserves is based on expenditures for all of these reserves in the 18-19 year. That information is presented and audited by Cullen and Danowski, our external auditors. It is brought and presented before the board by Cullen and Danowski. It's something that we adopt and utilize at every point in time throughout the school year to refer back to. February 15th, which was last week, was the data update that I explained at the last presentation for state aid. Projected initially for the 2021 year, it's not up here, was 54 million stated by the governor on January 21st. And with the update from last week, that increased about 708,000, which is great news. We've been doing a lot of work looking at building aid, looking at transportation, at stacks, at special education, and many other sources to make sure we're receiving as the maximum amount that we possibly can for state aid to lower the burden of the taxpayer. With this update, bumped us up from 54 to 55. However, there's still a delta of 708 grand because 56 is what the state aid number was for 1920. So I still remain hopeful that this number will shift and change and come at least flat to 56. And we are working together as a team in the business office, especially with school aid specialists, to make sure that this can go up from there. So at the very bottom, raised by taxes is the number 129 from the previous slide of 3.10. So total revenues are at 199, 437, 938, and the change is 5.3 million, which is a 2.77 increase over 1920. So again, revenues are subject to change in order to maintain contingencies, in order to maintain program and new initiatives, as well as to be in compliance with the budget guidelines that were adopted on January 10th. And this is just two little blurbs from the budget guidelines, making sure that by March 10th, The total expenditure side shall not exceed the preliminary calculated 2021 tax levy cap and other considerations, which is something that we've been working for about 5 years now with OSC to make sure that we are in compliance, which is in between 3 to 4% unassigned fund balance. That's a number that has shifted down significantly. We used to be at above 10%, which is well over the 3 to 4% threshold. So it's tremendous work that the district has done, and you are now transparent in your expenditures, in also matching up with your revenues, and we're almost there in it being equal. And that includes the end of this. So the next budget presentation will be on staffing and a line-by-line expenditure, including staffing changes, as we really work together as a team to make sure we're abiding by this budget guidelines.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be asking a lot of questions of my favorite part, the expenditures.
Figured you would.
Well, actually, Bridget should be asking the board. So Bridget, do you have a question to ask the board? The board.
Hello? Would you kindly go to the tax cap limit of 3.10?
Okay, you want me to answer, or do you want to answer?
Yes. Yes.
Lee? Oh, it's the tax on 3.10. You're not piercing the cap.
Not piercing the cap.
But we're going way up.
You know why we're going up from last year, because we went to a zero last year. The year before, my apologies, my year before, but we did go pretty well last year, too.
It's not that significant.
Yeah. 3.1.
And I like when they.
So I didn't get that down. Nikki, what is it, Nikki?
And we didn't, depending on your expenditure. Let me ask.
2.9 this year.
Yeah, 2.9.
We were around 2.6, looking like.
No, it's 2.1 this year. Yeah,
2.9.
so it's going from 2.9 to 3.9.
Let me ask.
And you had zero the year before. Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, she needs your approval to go.
That's why.
We need to be able to put the expenditure budget together, and we need to know what that needs to look like.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you have 4. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to public comment. This section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize persons who wish to raise questions or to make a brief statement on the agenda matters only. All the topics will be recognized as time follows. The time available will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Comments should be kept brief as possible and relate to school matters. If anybody has a question or concern, what's your name? Nobody's running up with the budget, so now everything else follows.
It's not about the budget.
Hi, it's on. Last year I came up here after the 2019 graduation and I asked for the board to look at how we have the commencement services, whatever they're called. I was just wondering if that was ever looked at, about how we're having people sit, all the grandmas and grandpas who can't sit out in the sun and they have to walk.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Can you turn the button on just so I can hear you? Sure.
I know what that means.
Thank you. It's just the heater
That's
behind-
okay.
The heater behind us is like right over
Okay.
here.
So I was here about how we do the commencement services. I was a parent in 2017 and 2018, and I all felt very bad for the older people who came to the graduation, and they couldn't walk, and they had to walk on the turf field. I also was concerned about the children only being allowed to walk on the the track. And nobody really got to see them. It was chaos. It wasn't friendly. You look on television, you watch News 12, and the graduation ceremonies are friendly. We're a friendly community. My first graduation was here in 2009. We had a couple of hundred more children, and we saw our kids. It was great. So I don't know if anybody's looked at it, or if we're going with the same old thing. We're gonna
What was
put
the seating when you said it was good?
we had 4 rows, and the kids knew what row they were in. So they would say, I'm going down the first aisle, the second aisle, the third aisle, the fourth aisle. Now we just have 1 aisle, and the kids walk around the track. And you don't really see anybody. Grandma can't see anybody. If grandma's having chemo, she's sitting in there in the sun with her umbrella, and nobody sees behind them. And maybe we could just spread it out. We have a huge area. That's just something, if you could look at that before graduation.
Definitely, yes, yes.
I've been a parent here for 26 years, 28 years if you consider special education. And it's just sad that on the last day, these kids don't get to see mommy and daddy waving at them. A lot of them went through a lot to get to this point. In 2009, it was different. I don't know how you did it, what it was. We didn't have a turf field, but everybody got to see their kid. Grandma and grandma got to see them.
It was opposite way, wasn't it?
It was the opposite way.
It was the short way, most of the
So over.
Yeah, well, definitely we're present.
Can we look into maybe how I'm just using other districts, how other districts do it? Because I've been to, in the last few years, I've been to a couple of different districts. I was at William Floyd 2 years ago, I was at Sachem last year.
And the big schools.
And they actually do it where if everybody's in the stands and it's all right in front of them. I don't know, because we don't have as big as stands, maybe there's something we could do to alleviate so that parents and
Something.
family can see that.
We definitely do.
And you just gotta feel bad for all the parents. I mean, in 2018, one of my daughter's friends, her mom was dying of cancer, and poor woman with the sun, she was dehydrated, they had to take her off the field. Her daughter was crying because she wanted her mom there, and her mom passed a couple of months later. So I'm about kids, I'm really not about the adults, I really don't really care what the adults think. I'm just thinking about the kids, the special ed kids who worked so hard to get to this point. Now my next thing, I heard on social media that maybe Chuck Schumer was going to be the speaker. I have a problem with that. I don't think that their graduation should be a political statement. I think that we should look at all the great things that this district has to offer and all the alumni that have done great things, and rather have one of them as a speaker than a politician who is looking, and it's any politician, it's not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's not the place. It should be somebody that did well, and it is a Connecticut graduate. We have done great things with our students. Why do we have to have a politician? Why do we have to make this political? And I did get a little crazy, because you come with a problem, you have to come with a solution. And I probably should write out the names, but I looked at kids that graduated with my kids, or kids in the community, kids who worked at McDonald's and they went to college and did great. So I have a couple of resumes here for kids who graduated from Connecticut and did great things. Those are the kids that should be at our graduation speaking, and not a politician who wants first-time voters' votes.
So,
I agree with that.
I don't know, it's funny because Lynn and I spoke about this earlier.
I just got chills.
We don't invite him, he just shows up.
He shows up.
Well, uninvite him. I'll uninvite him. He's not, because there's an expense to the district, right? You have to have more security. Because, of course you do.
No,
You
he
don't
brings
like
his
them. You have to have more security. You have 1,000
He brings
people.
his own.
He brings his own.
He has his own
His own
entourage.
special.
He does.
He just shows up.
Well,
But is he given the chance to speak? Like, is
Yes,
he there?
he's
So
annoying.
no, but I'm saying is if he's there, he has to
parents-
speak.
Right, and if you go to a SUNY school, he goes there too. So there's parents who have heard him graduate, had heard the graduation speech 4, 5, 7 times. We don't want to hear it.
Same
Jesus, same thing.
20 years, every day.
Please,
I know, it's
his
his wife, no, even his wife.
his wife. But yeah, listen, I had a girl that went to college and then she went and taught in Spain. She taught English in Spain for 2 years. That's exciting. Kids should hear that there's that possibility. I have another kid here who's 25 years old, and 25-year-olds can't buy houses in Oakdale. He did. He's the success story. He should be at our ceremony, not some stranger. It could be a teacher who graduated from here. Let them be the speaker. It shouldn't be a politician.
Thank you.
I'll give it to the district clerk. You can do it there on your wish.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
It's a short group of friends. I don't have a lot of friends, so.
Anybody else have anything to say, anything to add?
Yeah, I feel very short. Hi, my name is Michelle Burke. My daughter is a student at Idle Hour. I've come to the last couple meetings and I've watched several of the meetings on YouTube. And I have to say, very happy that very positive things were just brought up and discussed. That just made me feel very good. One of the things that I'm upset, but last year my daughter wrote a song, and it was put into the Reflections competition, and she went on, she was a county winner. And one night she was invited to the Board of Education, and she got to shake Dr. Adams' hand, and she had her picture taken, and all of those pictures now sit on our, little thing in our house. And she looks at that, and she said, you know what, that was so awesome, I'm going to do it again. And she did do it again. And so now she is a county winner again for the Reflections contest. So is another girl from Idle Hour. She put together this documentary, and she is now a county winner, and their stuff is going up to the state. I'm a little disappointed with the fact that throughout this year, kids and staff haven't been brought to the board to talk about all of the amazing, wonderful things that ConnectQuad does. I'm so excited that I came to a meeting and you are here because P.S. I Love You Day, I'm a teacher. I teach at Harvard Hills High School. I'm a 20-year veteran. P.S. I Love You Day is, yes, about making sure everybody knows how much they are loved, but it's also, honestly, about suicide awareness. And our kids are doing fabulous things, and they want to be recognized. They want to be told, hey, you know what? You did something really cool. You did something really great. And I know we've gotten very hung up on whether we're going to have armed guards or whatever the case may be. And to be honest with you, whether you're here nor there, it's about our kids. It's so much about our kids. I want my kid doesn't do really great as far as math is concerned, but she is an amazing artist, and that's her thing. And so when you guys recognized her last year, it was, let me go do this again. And by God, she went out and she did it again. So I really think in what I have watched and what I have seen over the last, I'll even say 6 months, we gotta get back to kids. We gotta get back to making them feel good and making them want to do what they do and come back and speak at their graduation because they've gone out into the world and done something amazing. So I'm asking you, please consider for the remainder of the year, you do 2 meetings a year, 2 meetings a month. One of those meetings, please make it about the kids. Please make it about your staff. Your staff that's appreciated is going to do much more for you than a staff that feels as though they are being attacked by the community. Let them show you what they're doing. I feel like in the last month, all I've heard about is rap rooms and armed guards. That's not the community I want my kid in. I want my kid to come here and say, hey, I represented ConnectQuad as the only kid from my school that went to Skamia, which she's doing next week. So please, please, please start looking at what all of our kids do. All of this stuff is important, but it's about the education and it's about the kids. So, thanks.
Can I address a little bit of that?
Sure.
We used to be in the buildings, we used to have 2 board meetings a month. One was in the elementary school, and one was here in the board. I personally thought it connected us, to the building, People got to know who we were. We got to meet the PTA and the parents who came to watch their children play in the band. I thought it was wonderful. I've been trying to get that back for however long. Marlene, you've heard that. To me, it's so important. I think that this district lost something when we stopped doing that. We became less of a community because we were taken out of where we should be. And so my parents could be at the meeting and hear the talk, if we argue, don't argue, an issue. Those parents got to learn what a school board was. They knew then what they were voting for, not us being away from them forever.
I gotta be honest, my only observation of many of you at this point is from Facebook and watching you guys go at each other on
I have
Facebook.
on Facebook.
Regardless, or some other media.
I was gonna say, we actually write nice to each other on Facebook.
And either way, my point is that I've been at Idle Hour for 3 years now, because we came from West Islip. We chose Connectquad because of the music and arts program. We came here, we left West Islip for that. And I've never seen any of the board members at any of our events. And we do a lot of stuff. I'm the vice president of the PTA.
I gotta tell you, to be perfectly honest, I have to adjust that. I haven't seen invites. Because I've been going with the superintendent to a lot of things. And I actually, even when my own son goes to school, did I not tell you? I said, how come I'm not getting invited to where my son goes to school?
Well, then that's something as a community we gotta start working on. We gotta start working on community outreach, and we gotta start working on, you guys should not be the enemy, your teachers should not be the enemy, and we should be celebrating our kids. So, that's just me.
Thank you. And by the way, I believe I'm in your building in November for the veterans.
Well, you guys were one of them.
Which was,
We went to, yeah, because we went to RMS, the three of us, and then you three went to Idle Hour, and I went to Cherokee.
which is awesome.
Because the only problem is, and I had this discussion with Linda, remember that day we said, even Veterans Day? How nice it would be if maybe we could, I love things like that, but if we could switch it where maybe one school did it, or two schools did it on the 8th, and the other, I know now being a pain, but I'm just saying, I love that they do the Veterans Day stuff, I love it. I mean, I was one of the people that said we have to do things like that, but you have to also understand so many schools are doing things on the same days. It is so hard. Like even with Wonder. I went to Wonder, you went to Wonder, but we all went a different day and we couldn't get to all the different schools.
Well, then again, that's something about coordination. That's something about having, an idea of, and the district is so big, and besides Dr. Adams, there's only 5 of you.
Right.
So, and that's a whole other issue. Sachem has 9 people on their board. I have a district, my district is only, 5,000 people, and we have a 7-member board. There is always a board member at our events.
I try to go as many as.
Honestly,
And I would like,
if you can, I told a couple PTAs, try to send invites. Even if you send them, I always say, send the invites to the district clerk, we would love to come. Honestly.
We will do that.
and I agree that we should be having children here. We've had them up until now. Once we were taken out, we weren't allowed.
It means something to
They
them.
should be here.
It means something.
Why they're not is very disappointing.
Don't look at me.
Well, I think we have. a
Let's not
voice
lay
here,
blame.
so-
Let's just move forward.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say?
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Sharf from Oakdale. I'm also a very proud Connectquad grad, so Teaper through and through, although part of me is a Panther now because that's where I work. But I wanted to address the graduation thing. I came here for a whole other reason, but now my heart's leading me toward doing better things for the community because one day my baby's gonna graduate and I want things to be fabulous for her day. It thundered and lightning on my graduation, so I never got to get my diploma. I stood in the line, but it was fine. I got it from my favorite teacher. But the district that I work in is a little bit smaller, so logistically, it's probably a little bit easier to make things happen, but for elderly people, we have a tent, a very large tent that we rent every year. I think they give us a really good deal or something like that because we do it every year. Another thing in my district is we moved toward doing evening graduations, which, believe it or not, is the person that's in the really heavy black drapey robe with all of the velvet things that we have to wear as educators. I appreciate the evening because it is much cooler. So that's something that is even, I don't know if there are lights in the field, again,
No,
don't.
we have it at night already.
Okay, it's amazing. So it's like, it's a little bit cooler, but, and then the other thing is that we have seats on the field along with up there, yeah, up there. So I haven't been, again, since a while ago. I won't tell you the year. I look too young. But anyway. The reason I'm here is that I know everybody knows my presence on Facebook, and I really hope that you understand that this is coming from a place of like good and a hope for like good things for our community as opposed to being argumentative, because that's certainly not what I want to do. And it really isn't about like the Second Amendment or anything like that. It really is about the perceived concern with having to arm guards for our district. I mean, we know that the committee that you put together that presented to you at the beginning of January indicated that with each gun that enters a school, that the increase for harm to children is just exponential. And I just don't think that, I understand that what you've done is you put it in the budget, and that's been a decision, but I really want to implore to really ask you to allow it to be a separate vote. And I know that in the presentation it indicated that you had choices, and I know Mr. Guercio said that you're absolutely within your rights to do the way that you're doing it. And I think that giving us the only option to say, hey, no, we don't want this, to vote down the budget, the ramifications of that are just, they're too serious. You'll have to remove other things, lose programs, or potentially staff and who knows what, any of the extra things that you want to do. So if there's a way for you to go back to what your original plan was, which is to have it as a separate vote, you'll allow the community to express themselves, to have our voices heard. And as we know, if the referendum doesn't go the way the board wants, well, then you can turn it over. And then that speaks for itself. But at least you'd allow this community, which is very, very large, to speak and have our voices heard. That's all that I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay, moving on. I'll move on to personnel matters, concern. As amended. No, schedule one is no more. Schedule one, termination of leave of absence. I need a motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, schedule two as amended. Appointments, tenure, salary. I need a motion in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to consent agenda, as amended, we added on item number 9. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're moving back to public comment, and that's the last thing of the night. What? Okay, thank you. All right, we're giving you guys another opportunity to speak. Otherwise, we're about to adjourn.
I got it.
What are we gonna do about students coming before us?
You know my feeling on that.
Why don't we have a separate, but why don't we have a separate night? I don't think it was ever supposed to be something that was pulled indefinitely. It was supposed to be that we went out to the public, and the public, parents came here, and parents came to us and said, why are we having meetings where, am I right, Mark? It was, the parents came in, and they said, why are we having meetings? It was parents saying.
It wasn't parents.
They said,
It was not parents.
we spoke to parents.
Why must we fight about it?
All right, can I just say,
It was a board member who brought it up.
like I said, there were parents that wanted their children to have something more special than when we had, and actually I got the calls after it was, the people came in for that one where it was big. We had a lot of people in here. It was like a lot of sports, a lot of awards were given. The problem is, everybody gets, and then they run it. They get their run out. And now, like, there were grandparents standing in the hall. There were aunts and uncles standing in the hallway. They didn't really get to enjoy, like, they got the picture, but they didn't get to enjoy all of them getting a picture or being in front of the stage. So we did say, why don't we have a meeting or have another awards where it was given out, and you make it really special. You make it really special so
You
that
gotta-
it,
Then you gotta do it. Like,
yeah, well,
you know, I know, it's already, it's almost
meeting.
March.
but
We
we,
can't even get
But
one
we have
board members
awards.
to two.
Right. No,
listen, you have a night like that, I'll be there. That's what I think that is a beautiful thing for the children. They would really feel it's special. Not that they come, and I hate to say this mean, but to see this. This is not, I want kids, I want to lead by example with kids and them to see, you're getting something nice in front of a whole big group of people and all the kids get the same special feeling.
Absolutely. And,
You know,
but again,
Not that they're rushed and then out the door.
but then, you know, you kind of.
It doesn't happen that way, and the only people that will be here will be those kids. They wouldn't have an audience that would come cheer them on. The community
Well, the
at
idea
large
was to try
would
to
see
make it so
this.
we would.
The idea is to bring their family and friends. The idea is, and please don't take this the wrong way, to have, how many people are in the room? To have,
We don't normally have that kind of out.
when I've been
Okay,
here for
so
awards, you had people in the hallway, what?
if there were that many, I think then that's another story. But when you're talking about your daughter and many other kids, maybe there are 10 kids in
It's
one
one or
group
two
and
kids
10
and
in
you want to
another
go,
group.
that's one thing.
Look, it's a,
It's something that we've
This
done
sound-
for years and
this-
worked beautifully.
this sounds strange, but what it comes down to is you are the leaders of the district. So for those kids, they want to make you happy. They want to show you the things that they're doing. So whether you got to make it a separate night or whether you know, are going to do it in here or whatever the case may be, you can infight about it, but the reality is if you know it's important, and you think it's important, and you think it's important, then make it happen. Like that's kind of, it doesn't matter, you know, even if it's once a month.
Well, then you stay
If it's
home.
once a month, or, you know, like you said, an elementary, middle, and a high school. The high school kids do a lot more than, you know, my kid that's playing her violin at Skamania.
I think it's just as
But-
important. Because a young kid feels special if they get an award for an art, they should get an award. I just want it to be more special, where they're not just coming into a room and we're talking about the budget and we're talking about this and then we're giving awards. It's nicer for them to come in and the night's about them.
Absolutely.
Maybe some balloons, maybe make it nice, make it kid-friendly. Yes, for the little kids, yes. Well,
Which is, again, which is
Jerry,
great.
Can you answer the next agenda?
But you gotta,
In discussion,
get it done. I don't care how you do it.
Discussion, new business discussion.
If you
Yeah,
want to make
get
it,
it to the next agenda.
what I do in my district, what we do is that different areas of concentration meet monthly. So they invite different areas. So for example, the kids go on a music trip and they do something phenomenal and they win, they have them come in the following month and then,
No, we were doing all that.
we were
Yeah.
doing all that.
oh, I don't know if you have it divided like by month, it might be
To be
easier.
perfectly honest, we try to go to, also, we try to go to PTA meetings. Me and Mylin went to, Fulton, we've gone to Cherokee, we try to go if the PTA presidents invite us, you know, a lot of times, we don't, I mean, I know it says on the calendar, but you don't know if they have something, and when you walk in, it does tend to make people wonder, why are you there? Like, are you there? Like, you know, you don't want people to be nervous, like, why are you there? But if you're actually invited to the meeting, and like, they say, you know, we really want you guys to come and see this special thing that the kids did, or something special, one of us would definitely show up. I mean, it's almost a given. It's just a matter of knowing when you're doing something like that, as opposed to showing up and us being like, and again, we have shown up and people are like, what are they doing? What's going on?
Well, and not for anything, but that's because at this point, the presentation to the community is, well, they must be here to get us for something, or they must be here to see us, or they want to check out, you know, what are we doing or what are we not doing, or because there is no community communication. And again, I'm on both sides here. I've been a teacher for 20 years, I'm a parent, I'm on both sides. So yeah, I understand that, but you know what?
I think, but I have to say this to you kindly, I think you coming to the last meeting or two and seeing what you saw was maybe one small excerpt of what we've actually done.
I'm sure.
Because, like the Veterans Day, that was a policy that I fought for. And I've only been here 7 months. I fought for adding it to curriculum, adding it across the board. to bring patriotism to the district and to also for the community. And believe it or not, this year, we got more letters, look how beautiful they did letters. These are
We've
things
been
that,
doing that for years.
oh, yeah, that I won't use that much.
We've been doing that for years.
But that is awesome.
What I'm saying
But
is that's
saying
one
they
thing.
added other
That's one
students.
thing. There are so many other things as well, and just like that
Yeah.
that
But
is
I
your,
think
let's
you
face
guys
it,
are
that's
only
your,
hearing it. I don't think you're here, I think you're only hearing, and again, Facebook isn't always the best forum,
of course,
because you're only hearing about what is everybody's push button item,
right,
as opposed to
right.
us going to the school to meet new principals and watch them give awards. We went to the high school and we watched the principal give awards.
Yeah.
Well,
Last
then
month.
maybe it's also a thing as well. Maybe it's
We do
also,
actually have a Facebook page. We were just ripping.
And I actually put pictures up from going to I went to 2 of the openings for the elementary, and I put it up for the parents
right.
on the high school.
I know
Yeah,
from my,
I'm
I know
not
from
sure
my
you know this.
Yeah.
I'm a board member, I'm a very active board member. I go to a lot of these school things. I've actually, a couple of years ago, which I don't know if you guys bring it back again, but I actually loved it. You did a science exhibit.
We do the science exhibit every year. We
Okay,
do the celebration.
Like 1 year, I did go. Any school invites us, we do go.
Okay. So that's
We've been
something-
very active at a lot of our schools.
That's something then that needs to be put out to your schools, saying, hey, we'd love to come see some of the awesome things that you're doing. Throw us an invite. That kind of thing. I know like my district, any single time something happens that our kids do that is good, we have and I don't know if our district has like, literally a public relation. Do we have a public
Yeah,
relation?
syntax.
Is it syntax? So, like, I know, I personally get contacted as a teacher saying, what are you doing in your classroom? We want to get this out.
We do that.
What are you,
We do that.
and I'm not seeing it.
Then you're not on the right
There are
page.
two pages.
There's actually a Facebook
There's 2
page.
Facebook pages, not.
Yeah, so maybe you're not on the Facebook page. Daily, there's a lot of PR in our district.
Look up Connecticut High School.
No, this is.
No, I'm saying, and also Connecticut School District. I'm on
Yeah,
that.
you're probably not on the website. Daily, I get, we're all, Joe Manaccio is singing.
In our papers and stuff like that. So anyway, we
So
can
maybe
beat a dead horse, but.
maybe you're not seeing
No,
it,
you
but we,
gotta see, it's a lot of
we
good
do
stuff.
celebrate our kids every day. All right, so anything else? It's not really a discussion, like, it's not a board member participation, but, you have anything else? We don't have a committee or.
Can we discuss going back to the schoolhouses?
Well, bring Eileen back, we have it on the agenda, I don't want to discussion. Already have it. Okay, so I need a motion second to go out of public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.